Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla, and in today's video we are doing another subscriber financial review. I know for these videos I'm usually sitting in my other corner, but felt like sitting here today. I know these videos also typically go up on a Thursday, but obviously starting this week and probably going forward, these videos will be up on Sundays. Let me first start by mentioning the 3 things that I always mention at the beginning of these videos. The first would be if you want a video just like this about your financial situation, feel free to submit your current finances. I have my email down in the description box as well as a list of things that would be helpful for you to include in your email so I can give you the best suggestions. Fair warning that I do have quite a few of these emails already piled up in my inbox, so it's going to take a few weeks until I would get to yours. The second thing is I also offer one-on-one sessions, so if you're interested in taking things a little bit further and working with me one-on-one, I can help you to budget, help you to save, help you to come up with a plan to get out of debt. That will also be linked down below. You can visit my website and see the packages that I offer. And then final thing for anybody watching this who wants to provide feedback to the person that this video is about, please just be friendly in the comments. I'm all about being helpful and encouraging, but also just make sure you're being friendly because obviously this is about a real person and they will be watching this video and probably reading the comments as well. With that out of the way, we can go ahead and get to the email. So she said, "My husband and I live in the Midwest and make about $5,500 a month take-home pay. We both are in our early 30s and have 2 dogs. We are interested in having a child in the next year or 2, so are looking to get into the best financial place, as I know we don't bring home an excessive amount of money each month. We currently own a house. I think she meant to say we bought it a year ago, and it's an older home." She did provide a list of their bills, including mortgage, water, energy, daycare, medical, car insurance, subscriptions, phone, and internet. About the daycare, she said the daycare is for our dogs. I know. It will go up to $295 in November. It's important to us and our dogs love it. I work from home, so it also gives me a break for them. It's good for my mental health. I love them dearly, but having 2 dogs with you all the time is a lot. I actually used to work at a doggy daycare, so through most of college, grad school, and then after grad school, I worked at a doggy daycare. And yeah, it's pretty expensive. It's a really good business, and a lot of people would bring their dogs there every single day, and the dogs loved it. They were like little babies and loved to see their dog friends. So yeah, I completely understand that. It's kind of a bummer that it's going up in November. I'm assuming you're just going to be taking the dogs to daycare more frequently and maybe up to your package with the daycare. So we will account for that within like when I put this into my spreadsheet, I'll make sure to account for that for November and moving forward. She also listed their expenses. This includes groceries, miscellaneous, an additional dog. This is probably like dog food and care, stuff like that. Her spending, his spending, gas, a couple of things that are blank, so we'll leave those off. Date night and eating out. Everything really looks okay to me between your bills and your expenses. I think the only one, so she did say miscellaneous includes everything from household, projects, prescriptions, fun things, etc. It could probably be less with winter, but it was higher with summer doing outside projects, which makes sense. I think miscellaneous looks a little bit high. It's at $500. However, at the same time, if this is pretty accurate for your like groceries and going out to eat and stuff, that's pretty low in my opinion for 2 people. That's like what I'm spending just for myself. So if y'all are sticking to it, then props for that because food is quite expensive these days. So because of that, I think I can let y'all get away with the $500 for miscellaneous. And I think that makes sense anyway. So if it's including household and prescriptions, fun/entertainment, it does kind of make sense, especially for 2 people. So that's really the main thing that stood out to me. I think your spending is fine. A lot of people need to make room for that. That's good that you're budgeting $200 for the both of you, and I think this looks pretty good. So for all of this, we're just going to kind of stick with these numbers, and I think that's fine. Our debts are as follows. So they have an Amazon credit card over $3,500, 27% interest. They have 3 private student loans, which I think, let's see, altogether it looks like maybe $16,000. quite a lot in minimum payments. One is at 125, one's at 141, one's at 142, and then they're all at the same interest rate of 7.47%. So yeah, that's unfortunate that the minimum payments are so high. But we'll put that into the debt avalanche tracker and see what things are looking like. And the final debt is federal student loans. That's over $37,400 with 6.8% interest and a $317 minimum payment. I'm wondering if y'all can get that a little bit lower potentially with the new plan. She didn't mention if they, tried anything with that, because I know a lot of people have been able to save a lot more money by switching to a different plan. So I would look into that, see if it can be lowered at all. But for the purpose of this video, we're gonna do the $317 per month for federal student loans. Our savings are as follows. So about $3,000 buffer in their checking account, $2,006 in credit union savings account, not making much interest, but feel we should have something there in case of an emergency since it takes a few days to get out of Ally. Over $5,000 in their Ally account, which is at 4.25% interest. That may have gone up actually since this email. And then we also probably have 40 to 50,000 in our 401k, 403b, Roth, etc. Altogether, they have like $10,000 of cash, like between their savings accounts, checking accounts, about $10,000. I would want y'all to get a little bit more clear on what you have invested. I think at this point in your life, like if you're thinking about having children, y'all are married, you are both young 30s, right? Both in our early 30s. Yeah, at this point, I would like for you to have an understanding of where your investments actually stand. So I have my free spreadsheet that y'all can use where you can plug in your numbers and calculate your net worth, or you can use an app like Personal Capital, or I think people use Mint. So I think it's important to be aware of where your net worth stands, especially at this point, and I would want you to get exact numbers for what's in your 401k, your 403b, your Roth IRA. Not like we probably have. You definitely want to be more clear about that at this point, and then going forward, keep track of it every month. And it's kind of exciting too to see your progress. That's kind of all aside the point though, so let's continue. We're also hoping to go to Vegas for a trip in December for a few days. I'm guessing it would be about $1,500 with flights, activities, hotel, food, etc. Anniversary and Christmas gift to each other. We're not really gift people. I love that. I think that's great. My boyfriend and I are also not huge gift people, and we really enjoy experiences. So I think that would be well worth it. $1,500 sounds good to me. We'll make sure to put that into your budget so that you're saving in October and November for that trip, like $750 each month. And that might slow down your debt payoff a little bit, but I kind of have an idea of what I'm thinking already. Right now, my thought process is to pay off the Amazon credit card and private student loans, hoping we can get those paid off by the end of next year. It might be close. Then maybe save an extra $5,000 to $7,000 in a savings account, then move to federal student loans. We know we may have a child before we get to really work toward the federal student loans, so that could slow things down then. Any insight you have would be appreciated. Let's talk about all this. All right, we're gonna hop over to my debt avalanche / snowball tracker. This is available for purchase on my Etsy shop if you're interested in plugging in your own numbers. Over here on the left-hand side, we are starting this in September. The current month is September. I will say that this is really, since we're basically done with September, I would say this really more so applies for October. Like, we're more than halfway through, and at this point, they've probably already made some different decisions, but yeah, we can kind of count this as October moving forward. And then of course I plugged in their debts that she shared with me. First up, we're starting with the Amazon credit card, which I also agree should be put first. That was over $3,500, a minimum payment of $153, and that very high interest rate of 27%. That's a bit high. I'm hoping, since this is on Amazon, I'm not sure, this probably isn't all Amazon purchases. This is probably just an Amazon credit card that you're using for other things. But I would just be careful with the Amazon spending. If this is primarily from Amazon, then it might be something to no longer use. Get rid of the Amazon Prime if you think you have a problem, or just kind of get down to that, come up with a better plan so that you're not spending too much on Amazon if this is primarily Amazon purchases. But we will talk about what I think y'all should do. But I want to explain the rest of these the order of these. So then I put private student loan number 3 first. And the reason I put this one first, they're all at the same interest rate, all the private student loans, but I think that they should prioritize the ones with the higher minimum payment so that you have more money to roll over into the next one once that's paid off. So private student loan number 3 had the minimum payment of over $142 and also the highest balance, so over $5,600. And then going to private student loan number 2, which is, just $1 less of a minimum payment, $141. And then, of course, private student loan number 1 with the lowest balance and the lowest minimum payment of about $125. The order of these aren't too important just because they're all at the same interest rate. But yeah, that's the order I would go in because then you just have more money to roll into the next one. Once you pay off one, that minimum payment rolls into the next one and you'll make a little bit of faster progress. And then finally, the federal student loan, that's over $37,000. Minimum payment of $317 and then the 6.8% interest rate, which is pretty high. It's kind of a bummer too that this is all at the same, I'm not sure if this is accurate, but they said it's all at 6.8% and there's, no variable ones in there, which is strange. So I'm not 100% if that's correct. Like maybe you have lower interest rates in there, but based off of what she sent me, it looks like it's just the 6.8. That's unfortunate just because usually there's like a 3 point something and then a 5 point something, like a decent mix and not this high. But 6.8 for student loans is pretty high. Altogether, they have about $57,006 of total debt. Minimum payments altogether $878. That is a lot. And if they did not make any extra payments to any of their debts for the rest of the time, they would be debt-free by about July 2030. So quite some time, 7 years. As I always say, we don't want that. We want this to go much faster. And I have a couple of ideas for how y'all can do that. For all of your debts, you would be paying like $15,000 in interest altogether. The main issue, honestly, is the federal student loans. Like that's going to cost y'all a lot in interest. The good thing is you'll be able to write that off with taxes and stuff. But yeah, over $15,000 in interest. The way I'm getting that is from this sheet actually that I usually don't show in these videos, but it's tracking what you're paying for principal and interest for each of your debts, and then it's totaling up on the left-hand side. So about $15,500 in interest. I do like to always point out that this spreadsheet is not 100% accurate. It just depends on how the interest is calculated. Sometimes it's different from one loan to another and when you pay things. So this is just good for projecting and kind of coming up with a plan to see how quickly you can pay down your debt. But let's talk about their spending. I did put everything over on this sheet. Let's get it all on the page. Okay. So they told me their income is $5,500. I put in all of their bills and their expenses that they shared with me. And then, of course, popped in the debts. As I mentioned, there's nothing on here that stands out to me as super problematic. This budget that we're looking at here is for what I would say this is for October. I did not increase the dog daycare. So for October, I think that will be $170. They said that it's going to increase to $295 in November. So we'll get to that. The only thing I popped in on here was travel. So they said that they're planning a trip to Vegas, about $1,500 by December. So I think they could save $750 in October and $750 in November for that trip. And this really doesn't let you put anything extra to your debt. As you can see, if we subtract your expenses, everything listed here from your $5,500 income, you're going to be left with $16.45. So no room really to put money to debt. However, something I'm going to suggest for y'all is to use some of your savings and pay off that Amazon credit card. Like just pay it off now. Y'all have about $10,000 to work with. So the $3,000 buffer in your checking account, take a little bit from that, maybe get it down to $2,000. I would then take the rest, just take the rest from your high yield savings account, your savings, because I know that you guys should have a higher emergency fund. You own a home, and I think that's important. The other thing is that you're trying to save for, or you're wanting to have a baby, so that is important as well. You'll want to start saving for that eventually. But I would say that your 27% interest credit card is somewhat of an emergency. That's a very high interest rate. And the balance isn't too high. You know, it's less than $4,000. It's about $3,500 at this point. Since you've emailed me, you've probably paid down a little bit more. So I would say just knock that out. And we're going to put that on here. So that full balance, I know now it might be a little bit different. This may not be something you do in September, but maybe in October, but we're going to just put it for September since that's where the sheet starts. Like I said, if you made no extra payments, you would be debt-free by July 2030. So if we popped in, if you paid down this whole Amazon credit card in 1 month, that speeds things up a little bit. So now you'll be debt-free by November 2029. So like a full 6 months faster. And that's a lot right off the bat just from paying down one of your credit cards. But of course, it doesn't end there. So I think that it would be a good first step. Go ahead and use your savings. If you want to, you could slowly add a little bit more, but I think y'all will be okay to keep it where it's at. You really don't need a huge buffer. I know you mentioned keeping some money in your credit union, even though it's not earning interest, because if you can't get the money out of Ally right away. I talked about this in my last subscriber review video, but typically you don't need a couple $1,000s for an emergency, like within 2 seconds. Like you can wait a little bit, you can put it onto a credit card if you need to. So yeah, there's definitely options, and most people do not need thousands of dollars in immediate cash. So, but I understand why y'all want to do that. If that makes you feel comfortable, then that is fine. Okay, so that's September, October, paid off the Amazon credit card. You'll be fine. And then let's look at the following months. So I did pop what I think November and December would look like. So let's first look at November. Of course, I kept your income the same, $5,500. I kept everything the same here except for the doggy daycare. They said it was going to increase to $295 in November, so I popped that in. And then I did remove the Amazon credit card from here. However, I rolled that minimum payment into private student loan number 3. So the minimum payment for the Amazon card was $153, which you're seeing up here, and that is now rolled into private student loan 3. That's actually something I forgot to do in my last video and potentially other videos. Somebody caught on and was like, hey, you're not including that in the budget. So shout out to that person for catching that, but now I'm going to be better about that and make sure to include that. Even though the Amazon credit card, if you pay that off, it will be done, that minimum payment is going to roll into the next highest debt. And then I did leave on the travel. So October, November, you're going to be saving for the travel. Maybe you can do some of that in September so it doesn't have to be so high, because you can see here that the difference would cause you to go negative. Obviously, you're going to have to adjust some things around here, like maybe for miscellaneous, it's actually like $350 for the month instead. And then you'll have enough money to cover everything listed here. And then in November, you're not going to be really making much progress on your debt, but luckily you just paid off a whole credit card, so that's exciting. Y'all should get some momentum and motivation with that. And then you'll also be done with saving for travel, so you'll have your $1,500 ready to go for Vegas in December. But yes, for November, we're not going to put anything extra to your debt. Now let's go ahead and look at December. And this is going to kind of also be December going forward, basically. Everything here is still the same. Income $5,500, daycare still staying at $295. Miscellaneous I'm going to keep at the $500. That should be fine. If it's any lower, that would be great. Then you have more money to put to debt or to savings. The private student loan number 3 is still getting that extra payment, so you're snowballing into that still. And then I did add on a little bit for savings. And you can see here that we're working with a little bit of extra cash now. So if we were to subtract your expenses, everything listed here, from your $5,500 income, you have about $500 to work with. Usually I'm more conservative with this number, but I'm just going to say it'll be $500. So from December going forward, we're going to say you have $500, and let's see what that would look like. I'm going to start in December, pop on $500, pull that down. And if you were to do that, you would be debt-free by June 2027. So a little bit less than 4 years. I think that's pretty reasonable. I know that this is, again, not 100% perfect, because you probably may not be able to do $500 per month for the next 4 years if you're going to be having a baby and stuff, that's going to change things quite a bit. But with these videos, it's hard to predict beyond a few months just because that's just not how life works. You can make a rough plan, but things change from month to month, and it's hard to predict years into the future. But I think this kind of gives you a good idea. I think it would be helpful for y'all to increase your income in some form or fashion, either a higher paying job or side hustles, maybe selling things that you have or flipping things, because there is going to be quite a bit going on, like once you introduce trying to save for a baby, and then you're still paying down your debt, and you want to build up your emergency fund so you're good for everything, like your dogs, your child, your house, all that stuff. So this is going to probably change from month to month, but kind of a good representation here. I would say y'all could at least be debt free. If you're not able to do $500 per month, maybe it's here and there you're able to do an extra $500. I think it would be good to aim for being completely debt free within about 5 years or so. So even if it's not within the less than 4 years, I think an extra year on top of that would be no problem. And by making these extra payments, let's look at what the difference in the interest is. So yeah, about half in interest, $7,000 over the next 4 years instead of the $15,000 over the, I think it was 7 or 8 years or so. This obviously doesn't include your mortgage either, so keep that in mind that there's quite a bit of interest going there too. So this would be a great way to save a lot on interest. I know it can be scary to drop that initial $3,500 on the credit card, but I think you will feel a lot better to just get that out the way and be able to, I think it will make a little bit of breathing room. 27% interest is pretty high, and then you really can just focus on student loans, like it would feel pretty good to know you only have student loan debt left. And who knows, maybe you could refinance the private student loans to get a lower interest rate, but I mean, it depends on your credit scores. I wouldn't be too concerned about it if you're going to be putting extra to it, but definitely something to consider depending on what rates are looking like right now, as well as your credit scores. I think once you pay down the credit card, you'll see an increase, and then maybe you could consolidate those private student loans into like a personal loan and lower that a little bit, 6%, 5%, and go from there. But yeah, that is what I would suggest for y'all. So first thing would be to pay down the Amazon credit card. It might be a little intimidating, but I think it would be a good move overall. From there, you could add a little bit to your savings if you wanted to. Take a couple of months. Make sure you're saving for that trip. You don't want to go into any further debt, any credit card debt for that trip, and it sounds like you guys will be able to save for it, and that's perfect. Make sure that you find out the exact numbers that you have for your Roth IRA, your 401k, any of your investments. Figure out your net worth, because at this point in your life, it is important to have that all in one place. Have a picture of it, keep track of it on a monthly basis. And then after that, you should be able to put several hundred to your debt every single month, but of course that will change here and there, just depending on the month. If you have to pay for certain things, you may have to slow things down a little bit with your debt, but I think you should be able to be debt-free in about 5 years or so. Those of you watching, feel free to comment and let me know if I left anything out or if you would suggest anything differently. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of your financial info. Hopefully this was helpful. If anyone has any questions, feel free to comment those down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. It really supports my channel, and I'll see you in my next one.